They thought Windsor was safe. They thought the walls of the world's most famous castle could protect them. They were wrong. In the dead of night, under the cover of darkness, the Prince and Princess of Wales made a decision that has sent shockwave through the entire House of Windsor. William and Catherine fled, not for a scheduled engagement, not for a quiet weekend at Anmar Hall. They ran, in terror, and the reason why is so explosive, so deeply unsettling, that senior courtiers are described as ashen-faced. One source close to the family says the discovery has left the royal household reeling like never before in modern times. What did they find? What forced the future king and queen to abandon one of the most secure residences in Britain in the middle of the night? And why are people at the highest levels of the monarchy now speaking in whispers about an existential threat? Stay with me, because once you hear what happened inside those ancient walls, you'll understand why nothing will ever be the same again. It started, as these things often do, with something that seemed almost routine. A series of private meetings, heightened security, unusual movements of staff. But behind the polished doors of Windsor Castle, something was unraveling fast. According to multiple sources who have spoken exclusively under condition of strict anonymity, William and Catherine have been growing increasingly uneasy for weeks. Close aides noticed a change in atmosphere. The usual easy warmth between the couple and certain members of the household had cooled. Conversation stopped when they entered rooms. Documents that should have been straightforward were delayed. And then came the discovery that changed everything. What exactly was found remains one of the most closely guarded secrets in royal circles right now. But the impact is impossible to hide. Within hours of the revelation, the Prince and Princess of Wales made the extraordinary decision to leave Windsor immediately. Not the next morning. Not after consulting the wider family. That night, eyewitness accounts from those present describe a scene of controlled chaos. Bags were packed in near silence. Security details were scrambled. Vehicles that are rarely seen moving after dark were suddenly active, and by the early hours, William and Catherine were gone. One senior figure is said to have described their departure as the most alarming exit from a royal residence in living memory. Another called it a flight from danger. Danger. That word keeps coming up. What could possibly be so serious that the future king of the United Kingdom would remove his wife and, sources suggest, ensure the children were already at a separate location before making his own exit? The answer, according to those briefed, lies in a discovery that strikes at the heart of trust within the royal household itself. Not a simple security breach. Not a gossip-worthy personal scandal. Something far more corrosive. Something that, once uncovered, made remaining under that roof feel impossible. Insiders speak of documents, of communications, of patterns of behavior that, when pieced together, painted a picture so disturbing that William is reported to have said, in a private moment, "We cannot stay here another night." Catherine, usually the picture of composure even under intense public scrutiny, was described by one person present as visibly shaken. Those who know her well say that is almost unheard of. The woman who has faced cancer treatment, relentless media intrusion, and the weight of future queenship with remarkable steadiness was, that night, deeply unsettled. The couple's rapid departure has triggered a full-scale internal response. Trusted advisors were summoned. Legal counsel was consulted at the highest level. And at Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace, the atmosphere is said to be electric with tension. What makes this situation even more explosive is the timing. The monarchy is still navigating a complex transition into the reign of King Charles. Public support remains carefully watched. Every misstep is magnified. And now, at the very center of the future of the crown, the Prince and Princess of Wales have felt compelled to flee one of the family's most symbolic homes. Windsor Castle is not just any residence. It is the oldest and largest occupied castle in the world. It has sheltered the monarchy through world wars, political crises, and personal tragedies. For William and Catherine to decide that even Windsor was no longer safe speaks volumes about the severity of what they uncovered. Sources close to the couple insist this was not a decision taken lightly. There was no dramatic argument in a corridor, no public confrontation. Instead, there was a quiet, steely determination. Once the full picture became clear, the priority shifted instantly to protection of themselves, of their children, and of the integrity of the institution they will one day lead. But protection from what exactly? That is a question currently consuming royal watchers, palace insiders, and, according to some reports, even members of the intelligence community who have been discreetly brought into the loop. The nature of the discovery appears to involve a profound betrayal of confidence, not from outside the walls, but from within the circle of people who are supposed to be most loyal. There are suggestions of information being shared that should never have left private discussions, of access being granted to materials that were meant to remain strictly controlled, of a pattern that, once recognized, made the couple question who around them could still be trusted. In the rarefied world of the royal household, trust is everything. Without it, the entire structure becomes fragile. And right now, that trust has been shattered in a way that has left the family reeling. The reaction from the wider royal family has been one of stunned concern. While public statements remain carefully neutral, private communications paint a different picture. There is said to be genuine alarm at the highest levels. Questions are being asked that have not been asked in decades. Reviews of protocols, re-examination of access, and a growing recognition that something fundamental may need to change. For William, this moment carries particular weight. He has spent years carefully building a modern, more transparent approach to monarchy while still protecting the essential mystique of the institution. Catherine has been central to that project. The steady, relatable future queen who has won public affection through authenticity and resilience. To see them force into this kind of sudden, secretive departure undermines the very image of stability they have worked so hard to project. And yet, those closest to them say the decision to leave was the only one that made sense once the truth came to light. You protect your family first. One source put it bluntly. Everything else comes after. The children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, were already away from Windsor when the final discovery was made, according to those familiar with the timeline. That detail has only heightened the sense of urgency that gripped the couple that night. Whatever was uncovered, it was serious enough that the parents wanted maximum distance, maximum security, and maximum control over who had access to them. In the days that have followed, Windsor Castle has continued to function on the surface as normal. Staff still move through the state apartments. The flag still flies. Tourists still gaze up at the ancient stones. But inside the private apartments, the atmosphere is described as completely different. A chill has settled. Conversations are more guarded, and the absence of the Waleses is felt keenly. What happens next is a subject of intense speculation. Will there be a formal investigation? Will certain individuals be quietly removed from their positions? Will the full story ever become public, or will it be contained within the traditional royal code of silence? Those questions remain unanswered for now. But one thing is already clear. The relationship between the future king and queen and the ancient fortress that was meant to be a place of safety has been permanently altered. They fled in terror. The royal family is reeling, and the discovery that forced their hand is still sending shockwaves through the corridors of power. According to sources with direct knowledge of the internal briefings, the discovery did not involve a single dramatic confrontation or a smoking gun confession. It was slower, more insidious. A pattern that only became visible when several separate threads were pulled together at once. Private correspondence that should never have left the most restricted channels had been copied. Access logs showed unusual activity at hours when certain offices were supposed to be dark. And most disturbing of all, fragments of highly sensitive conversations, discussions about security arrangements, family movements, and future plans appeared to have been referenced in places they had no business being known. In short, someone inside the trusted circle had been feeding information outward. The realization hit William particularly hard. Those who have worked with him for years say the Prince of Wales has always operated on a foundation of careful trust. He chooses his inner team with deliberate care, to discover that the walls themselves had ears, and that those ears belonged to people who smiled at him in the corridors, struck at something fundamental. Catherine's reaction, according to one person who saw her that night, was quieter but no less profound. She is said to have gone very still. The woman who has endured relentless public scrutiny, invasive speculation about her health, and the constant pressure of future queenship simply absorbed the information and then asked the only question that mattered. How do we keep the children safe? That question drove everything that followed. Within a remarkably short window, the decision was made. The children were already at a separate, more tightly controlled location. William and Catherine would not spend another night under the same roof as a breach. Bags were packed with minimal staff involvement. Only the most trusted protection officers were briefed. And under cover of darkness, the couple left Windsor Castle in a manner deliberately designed to attract as little attention as possible. One source described the atmosphere in the private apartments in the hours after their departure as like the air had been sucked out of the building. Those who remained were left to process the implications. Senior household figures were woken. Phones rang across London. And by morning, a discreet but intense review was already underway. What has emerged in the days since is a picture of controlled alarm at the highest levels of the monarchy. King Charles is said to have been fully briefed and is taking a close personal interest. The relationship between father and son has known its strains over the years, but on this matter there is reported to be complete alignment. The integrity of the household cannot be compromised. Not now. Not with the transition of the reins still settling. Not with public confidence still carefully monitored. Other senior members of the family have been informed on a strict need-to-know basis. The reaction, according to those familiar with the conversations, has ranged from shock to cold fury. In an institution that has survived centuries by controlling information and protecting its inner workings, the idea that sensitive material was leaving the circle is treated as an almost existential problem. Investigations are ongoing. Certain individuals have had their access restricted while inquiries continue. Digital systems are being examined. Protocols that were once considered sufficient are being rewritten. And a quiet but firm message has gone out across the royal households. Loyalty is no longer assumed. It will be verified. Yet even as a machinery of containment moves into place, the personal impact on William and Catherine remains the most human part of this story. They did not simply change residences. They abandoned, at least for now, a home that carried deep personal meaning. Windsor has been a place of family Christmases, quiet weekends, and the kind of relative normality the Waleses have tried to carve out for their children. To leave it under these circumstances leaves a mark. Those close to the couple say the experience has sharpened something in both of them. William, already known for his protective instincts, is described as even more focused on controlling the environment around his family. Catherine has drawn her circle still tighter. Trust, once given relatively freely within the household, is now earned in smaller increments and under closer watch. The wider implications for the monarchy are still unfolding. In an age when every royal movement is tracked, photographed, and dissected, the knowledge that internal information may have been compromised raises uncomfortable questions about vulnerability. If the future king and queen no longer felt secure in one of the most heavily protected residences in the country, what does that say about the systems meant to shield them? Palace officials will, of course, project calm. Statements, if any are eventually required, will be minimal and carefully worded. The traditional royal preference for silence remains strong. But silence cannot fully contain the reality that something significant has shifted. The Prince and Princess of Wales voted with their feet. They chose safety over symbolism. And in doing so, they sent a message that will echo through the institution for a long time. There are still more questions than answers. Who exactly was involved? How long had the activity been taking place? Was it motivated by money, ideology, personal grievance, or something else entirely? Those details remain tightly held and may never fully enter the public domain. What is clear is that the discovery was serious enough to trigger an immediate flight from Windsor and a top-level response that is still continuing. For now, William and Catherine remain at a secure alternative location. Their public engagements continue with the usual professionalism. To the outside world, the machine keeps turning. But those who understand the inner workings of the House of Windsor know that a line has been crossed. A foundation of trust has been damaged, and the couple who will one day sit on the throne have been forced to confront a truth no future monarch wants to face. That danger can come not only from outside the walls, but from within them. The royal family is still reeling. The investigations continue. And the full consequences of that night at Windsor have only just begun to reveal themselves. If this story has left you as stunned as it has left the corridors of power, make sure you are subscribed and have a notification bell switched on. Because when the next layer of this extraordinary episode surfaces, and you will want to hear it here first. The walls of Windsor were supposed to be unbreakable. Someone proved they were not, and the future king and queen will never look at those walls the same way again.